Hey guys, there's a really cool company called Gamebox Monthly that I'm kind of obsessed with. What is Gamebox Monthly, you ask? Well, it is a service that delivers indie tabletop games to your door every month. How cool is that? It's really cool. Let me tell you why. People are so consumed by devices and screens. We need face-to-face human connection. Come on. So it's a great way to discover new games together with the people that you love and care about, or even just remotely like, or maybe you don't like them at all. Maybe you'll get to like them after you play some of these tabletop games. You never know. It's a great way to re-engage your original social network. So go to gameboxmonthly.com and rediscover social.
Krista! Hey, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Really? Because you seem a little...
I said I'm fine.
Okay, well, we all love you, so if you need to talk, we're...
She's fine. She's fine.
I'm fine. Hey, everybody. Happy New Year. This is the first podcast back of 2018. What? Yeah, I hope everybody had a really good time. I got totally sick in Big Bear and wasn't super fun, but you know what? I'm getting through it, and this is a great segue into the book I'm about to do called Learned Optimism. I've been very optimistic about the fact that I was sick on New Year's Eve, but that's okay. And today I have my very good friend Den Bradshaw, who is freaking amazing. He's a stand-up comedian and super funny, and performs all over Los Angeles and is super funny. And he's also, let me see if I get this right. He's also, yeah, but how do I even say it? Den, you're going to have to do it.
Gigolo?
Well, that too. And
we're on the clock, by the way.
Yeah, but
I'm a corporate trainer and facilitator, and I do public speaking.
Yes. Isn't that cool? That's actually pretty cool.
It's fun.
Yeah, he gets to get up and public speak.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a natural thing that he went into stand-up comedy because, I'm sure that kind of helps and stuff, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I was going to do a podcast in Big Bear with all of my girlfriends on New Year's Eve. But since I was hugging the toilet basically the entire time,
you didn't want your podcast to be like, and
yeah.
so,
yeah, that would have been pretty shitty. So I didn't get to do it, and Den and I have been wanting to do this for a while. So today I was like, Den, you want to do the podcast? And he's like, yeah, dude.
I don't know what that means, but let's do it.
Let's do it. Wait, what did you say to me? You said something. You're like, I don't remember what it was. Something about 45 minutes. Oh, I said it'll only take about 45 minutes.
Yeah, you're like, we'll just be really fast. We'll just jam it out in 45 minutes. Like, what are we talking about now?
I'm coming over. We'll do it quick. 45 minutes.
We'll just jam this out real fast.
So anyway,
45 minutes is fast. Yeah. Anyway,
I know it's not. I don't. Yeah,
yeah.
I can't remember the last.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
a lot chafing.
Chafing.
Yeah.
Do guys get chafed?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. This is why laser hair removal is a beautiful thing.
Oh right.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you get chafed from
oh my
hair?
God. Oh yeah. Brutal.
I don't. But that's still. I'm just saying. I didn't even know.
But,
no.
I mean, you can.
No,
keep describing if you want, but anyway.
No, I don't want to. I'm just saying that's good, but still at the same time, I thought you just got chafed from the friction.
Well, I mean, if you're doing stuff right, there shouldn't be a lot of friction in that area.
No.
But yeah, it's kind of where all the other naughty bits are slamming together.
Yeah. There's all kinds of things going on, I guess.
There's stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's imagine when you're making out with a guy with a scruff. And later your face, you're like, now imagine doing that for an hour really aggressively.
Right.
Yeah. And then imagine that around your nether regions.
The more you know.
There you go.
Okay, this is
the more you shave.
The more you This is not a podcast about
it's
chafing.
Really not. No.
But it is about
really positive about
this is one of Den's favorite books. It's called Learned Optimism. Let me try that again. That's a rewind. Learned Optimism, and the author you told me, but I already forgot.
Is Martin Seligman, who's a really famous psychologist. And
I don't know who that is, so he can't be that famous.
He's so famous. So it's an interesting story behind why he wrote the book and why he got into the branch of psychology he got into. So he was involved in these studies way back when, where they
Optimistic studies?
No, that's the interesting thing. It was actually the learned helplessness studies. And so those studies, if you're not familiar with it, the way they worked was like this. And if you love animals, plug your ears.
I can't pick this up. And
It's
you're
brutal.
like, you're helpless.
Yeah, screw you. No, actually, they would take dogs and they would put a dog in an area that
I already don't think I like this story.
I know. Well,
So-
it has a happy ending, but bear with me.
I like happy endings.
Bear with me. You pay extra for them, though. So they put the dog in an area that it couldn't escape, and they would give it a low-grade shock.
Okay, that's good. Anyway.
One of those things. Like
He
they
sounds
would,
like a
they'd
dick
make
psychologist.
it watch Pauly Shore,
So
you
he's
know,
a
and it was like,
thing-
ah.
yeah.
So they would do this, and the dog wouldn't be able to escape. And it wasn't his study. He was in college, and he was a part of this thing that they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do that, and the dog wouldn't be able to escape it. And after a while, the dog just gives up and lays down. Then they would do phase 2. That's phase 1, is you condition the dogs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Phase 2, I know, trust me. I agree with you. I love you. We're surrounded by animals in this house. Actually, it's a menagerie. You can't see, but there's. So they then did phase 2, which is they would take the dogs, just regular dogs that hadn't had this experience, and they'd put it in an area that was easily escapable, like a little low fence, right? And they would give it the same low grade shock, and the dog would get up and jump out. Bye, like I'm getting the F out of here, right? Because you're shocking me.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the natural response. Then they would take the dogs that they had all previously shocked in an area that they couldn't escape, and they'd put it in the same area with a little low fence that it could just hop over and escape. And the dogs would lay down and give up.
They wouldn't even try?
Wouldn't even try.
That's like what they do in Thailand with the elephants, right?
Yeah. This is
Kinda
how
the same thing.
they tie a little rope around it, the elephant, when it's very young.
Yeah.
And it learns that, oh, this little tiny rope can
It's
hold
all
me.
mean. Yeah.
And then by the time the elephant's, thousands of pounds and the rope means nothing, it's already learned to just give up and not. So now this was for Seligman, a very depressing study. He didn't like this. And he kind of looked at psychology and went, well, psychology, at least as it's practiced in the Western world, in the US and the West, is something that's very, it's dealing with problems after they're already problems, right? It's not prophylactic. It's, you've got a problem and we're going to try to take you from a negative to something more neutral. That's how psychology tends to work. If you're not really messed up, they don't really want to deal with you. They don't want to research it. And he looked at psychology and went, well, this was depressing. And he went, I want to figure out how to focus on positive psychology. And he's really the first real psychologist, like honest, like hardcore PhD.
that
big
focuses
studies,
on the positive
focus
stuff.
on positive.
Okay, I like him again.
So exactly. So
Okay.
he kind of went, well, this was really horribly depressing. And obviously humans do the same thing.
Right.
And that's why they were studying it, is like we learn to be helpless.
Right.
And so he went, well, the reciprocal must therefore be true. There must be, and so he started looking at dogs. The point of the study was this learned helplessness. He started to recognize there are dogs that seem to be completely inoculated. Like they don't give up no matter what you do. A certain percentage of those dogs, no matter what you did, they never gave up.
That's like my beagle and the trash. Like he can get in so much trouble and he's never not going to get in the trash.
Oh yeah. Or I mean, Speck, we have a dog that we should name him Houdini because I spend half my time
Say no.
no, trying to figure out how to keep the backyard
right.
from being escapable. And to the point where he's like, oh, I'm going to hop on these steps and go up on this side table and onto the hot tub cover and then run to the railing and down the railing and then up the ivy and over the fence into
It's
the neighbor's
just
yard.
it's just in their
holy crap.
DNA, just like it's in our DNA
Never
as
give
humans.
up. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. My dog's a motivational poster basically. And so Seligman looked at this and went, wow, what is the deal? I just had a great
What's the
Buckman.
deal?
What's
I was doing
the
Jerry.
deal?
Jerry's-
Wow. What's the deal with these dogs that don't give up? And so
Right.
he wanted to look into that. And they're like, no. Look at the ones that are all messed up. I'm like, no, I'm fascinated by this. So he started studying what it takes to be inoculated, what it takes to never give up. And that really set him down the path for his studying of learned optimism. Instead of learned helplessness, learned
I
optimism.
really like this guy now, and I'm very excited to do this book.
It's cool.
We're doing an amazing book today, you guys. It's called Learned Optimism. Now I'm all excited. The summary of the book is Learned Optimism digs into why optimists are healthier, happier, and more successful people than pessimists, and how both are learned attitudes and what you can do to become an optimist yourself. So that's kind of cool. I like that. One of his quotes is, I don't mind being wrong and I don't mind changing my mind. Okay. I'm cool with that too.
Things I don't hear from my spouse. So,
I don't mind being wrong and I don't mind changing my mind. Yeah, yeah.
okay. So, to kind of continue, once now he's set upon this journey, and in the book, what he explains. Now, the first thing to clear up is when most people think, "Oh, you're an optimist," they think, "Oh, I got hit by a car. Well, that's great. Going to find the silver lining on anything." And it's not really like that. It's not a matter of everything's great, everything's fine, and you're snowing yourself. Because look, humans are very smart, complex creatures. You're not going to fall for it, right? And so what it really boils down to is actually explanatory style of the things that happen in your life. Because most things that happen in your life, well, not most, but many things that happen in your life don't have a necessarily a clear 100% explanation. We don't necessarily know the exact reason that someone didn't return our phone call, or that our car got hit while it was parked on the side of the road, or whatever it is, good things that happen to us or bad. We don't necessarily have the God's eye view, the omniscient view of this is exactly what happened. But there's a very natural human tendency, especially among pessimists, where and so I'll explain to you how.
Like the world is against me. This is why it happened. Everything like this always happens to me. This is my luck. This is Murphy's Law. And people that believe in Murphy's Law definitely have a pessimistic attitude.
Definitely.
That kind of a thing.
What's cool, what I really like about this book is it breaks down how to look at optimism and pessimism from a very structured view, which is optimism is essentially when good things happen to you, you internalize it. You go, yeah, go me. And when bad things happen to you, you externalize them. You go, oh, that's not me. That's other stuff outside of me. And pessimism is the exact opposite. So pessimism, when good things happen, you go, well, that could have happened to anyone.
Yeah, I just got lucky.
Yeah, I got lucky.
Yeah.
You could have happened to anyone. And when bad things happen to you, you're like, oh, I'm such an idiot. So the examples that I like to give, say you park your car on the side of the street and in a high traffic area, and someone plows into it, which actually happens in the Palmer Hill quite a bit. And a pessimist would go, oh, I'm such an idiot. Why did I should have parked closer to the side. I should have known that, people come through here. Gosh, I'm such a moron.
Learn.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and that is another aspect, is how perennial is the negative thing, right? Is this something that is an ongoing perennial thing, or is this something that is when something bad happens, do you minimize it and go, okay, well, this is something that's a one-off thing? Or do you go, this is just a symptom of an ongoing malaise that's going to continue forever. And it's something that you internalize, like, I'm such an idiot. Now, an optimist, they park the car in the same spot, same exact thing happens to them. And they go, well, someone sure doesn't know how to drive. That idiot plowed into my car, and it's them. It's
right,
not
or maybe
me.
just not be so hard on themselves and go, whatever it is.
Well, I mean, to make it really clear, a purely optimistic person would just be like, well, someone else is an idiot and plowed into my car because it wasn't my fault. And
that kind of sounds like a narcissist, though.
Well, it's interesting because it really does come down to, people who are really optimistic do tend to be a little more like, another good example is when something positive happens. And so this will underscore what you just said. A pessimist wins the lottery. Okay. And so when they win the lottery and they go, yeah, it could have happened to anyone. I got lucky. I happened to pick the right numbers. Could have happened to anyone. Right. And it's never going to happen again. Right. So they minimize the chance of good things continuing to happen, and they externalize it. Right. It wasn't me. Whereas an optimist would do the opposite. They're like, damn, I'm good at choosing numbers. Look at me. I'm a winner. And I'm going to go to Vegas now. Right. I'm going to keep this streak going because I'm good at picking numbers. And so they internalize the positive thing, and they see it as a pattern of ongoing good things in their life. So again, it sounds a little now the reality is
those are the extremes of each side, though. And then there's like the healthy middle, which is like, cool, that's awesome.
And this is where it actually will surprise you a bit, and that is that when you look at the happiness and the success of pessimists and optimists,
Mhm.
and by the way, pessimists are also considered realists, right? So that is probably taking a slightly more real view of reality, right?
Right.
But-
based on what we're learned, based
Right.
based on what we're taught and what we see growing up or whatever.
When you look at the success and you look at the happiness, optimists across the board, way happier and way more successful. Pessimists, way less happy,
Well,
way less
sure.
successful.
Sure.
And so,
Because they have that constant thing running in their brain. They're creating it with all of their thoughts.
well, they're crushing everything. And
Yeah.
here's the thing. Hope. What is hope built on? Expectation of good. How can you have expectation of good if you're like, good, when good things happen, they're for a short time and they're not because of me. And when bad things happen, they're for a long time and they're because of me. That crushes all hope. That crushes all chance that things will get better. And so, for example, one of the examples I like to give that I don't think is in the book, but I think is a great example, is if you read about the life of Walt Disney, he was someone who was told that he was an idiot. He was laughed at over and over, and people were like, you are insane. No one's ever going to have a theme park about these cartoon characters. You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. And he really persevered and persevered and persevered through a lot. There's a funny quote from Bob Hope, because Disney offered Bob Hope to invest in Disney. And he said, had I really put a lot of money in, I'd be a rich man today.
Right.
Bob Hope being an
Yeah,
insanely wealthy
exactly.
man, right?
Exactly.
But Disney is a great example because a real optimist in the face of repeated failure, they never give up. They
Right.
keep going because that good is right around the corner. They're expecting good. And when the bad things happen, it's like, well, it's a temporary setback.
See, I think I think I've been on, and I think I always am. I think I'm on each side of both. I think I can be pessimistic in certain ways, and I think I can be super optimistic. I tend to be more optimistic when I am talking to other people about their pessimism. And I'm the person that will try to lift it up and go, okay, so what's the good?
Right.
What are the good things that are happening here? What are the
Right.
good things? What instead of, or whatever. But when I get stuck in my own head, I can go pretty deep, and it can get pretty dark for me for a minute because I'll start running it. But I've come to a place in my life where I'll get there and I'll go, I know what I'm doing. I know exactly what I'm thinking, but it'll shift and I'll come back up and the cork will float to the top again,
Right.
instead of me pushing it down
Right.
with my thoughts. And it's interesting because I know a lot of people that are super pessimistic. I can't even say the word. I suck.
That's good.
I'm the worst.
Eradicate that
I
word.
can't believe I can't say pessimistic.
How dare you?
God. But yeah, but you know what's also super annoying? Optimists. No, no, you know what I mean? If you have somebody, here's the thing,
But it'll just be for a little while.
right. Exactly. But yeah, right. Here's the thing that I notice, there's different kinds of, and I guess that's the people that you surround yourself with too. I tend to surround myself with, because I think I have both. I'm definitely not just a pure optimist. I definitely have another side where I can get down on things or think that it's, the world's against me. And sometimes I definitely do, but
We all do.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. To have a one track kind of thing of I'm just an optimist is it sounds like you're manic or the other way, but it's more common to just be a pessimist, like the Eeyore versus the,
Yeah.
Tigger.
I think of it as a goal, at least for me, as a goal, because manic is more it's insincere, right? So you're uppity up because you're trying to not go downy down.
Manic is?
Yeah, you're swinging wildly. So
Right.
manic, you're going up
You're
up
trying.
because you're trying to not be down, and that's kind of how that tends to
There's
work.
a thing with fake it till you make it though. I've done that to myself before
Yeah.
too, and pushed myself going,
Sure.
I'm fine. What is the title of my podcast? I'm fine, with quotes around it. It's I'm fine. And
My whole
sometimes
life is the Meisner technique. Yeah.
no, I don't even know what the Meisner technique is.
Meisner
I know
is basically
Oh, that-
becoming the role.
Is that the method thing?
Yeah, it's a method.
Okay,
for
okay,
acting.
yeah.
You're the actor. Come on.
Right, but I don't
I'm
know
not
these
even an
things.
actor, folks.
I don't know these things. That's why my career is so great right now. But so acting. So let me think. So you just talked about I'm looking at this thing right now. It says optimists see problems as temporary, pessimists as permanent. But like, again, that is like one and one. Like, would you say that it's possible to be like a optimist?
Well, it is because, you know,
you
and
can have
actually
both.
for my company, so I have a company called Team TuneUp, and we do corporate training for companies, and we do all this type of stuff.
Lifting people up, getting their...
giving them skills and tools to do stuff. And most of it has to do with, you know, the corporate environment, so communication, leadership. But I've actually been working on a training on optimism. And we have a test that is based on Martin Seligman's work that will allow you to kind of see if you are an optimist or a pessimist. And you can be both in different arenas. So you could be really optimistic
that makes sense.
about things that are
like with
about
life and
well,
things
it could be
like
about,
that.
You could be really up about positive things that happen and really positive about that. But when negative things happen, you're really down on that.
Well, yeah, think about this. So I have friends, and even myself, I'll keep putting myself in this. I can look at my career. I can look at my friends. I can look at, you know, my son. I can look at things that are coming around like in my life and really consistently be pretty optimistic. But when it comes to relationships and things like that, I have a running thing that it seems a little bit more pessimistic because of whatever I choose in my life or whatever, you know what I mean? Because, but that's on me and my mindset and switching that up to think. I'm not saying it happens all the time. I'm just saying that when I look at my journey, I would say that I'm much more optimistic about just life in general. But when it comes to human relationships, like with the boyfriend or something like that, really just love in general.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. I go into that other place because I have my own
that's
learned
what we
behavior.
call classic conditioning.
Really?
Well, I mean,
oh my God, I'm classic, you guys. Did you hear that?
Yeah, you've been classically conditioned.
This isn't a good thing.
If you burn your hand enough times, you're going to wince when you come near a stove. So, you know, I mean,
no, I have no feeling left. I just,
you're like a moth to the flame. No, the flame looks great.
I'm like, it doesn't hurt at all.
Just let's go back to the flame. I mean, that's all I could, short of psychoanalyzing you on your podcast. That would be my guess is you can certainly compartmentalize, but so the thought that I want to leave you with or present to you is that setting as a goal being optimistic is, I think, a positive thing. And you have to differentiate between going, everything's good, everything's great, and snowing yourself and going, okay, something happened. I can explain it in two different ways. Now, I don't have more reason, like with the car example or the lottery example.
Mm-hmm.
The car, I think, is a great example. You don't really have any more reason to believe that it's your fault and you're an idiot and that's why the car got hit than that you do that it's some driver being an idiot who's maybe drunk and that's why the car got hit.
Right.
You don't have more reason. If someone doesn't return your phone call, you don't, and it could be a relationship, you don't have more reason. You can't read their mind. You don't know. Is it because of you? Or maybe you remind them of someone who broke their heart. You don't really have the God's eye view. And so the belief that the negative interpretation is going to be the more accurate one, well, how the hell do you know that? So if you have to choose an interpretation at all, which we're interpretive creatures, that's what we do with everything. We're always interpreting. Why not choose one that serves you? Because it's going to feel a hell of a lot better if you choose one that's positive.
Well, sure.
Than the negative.
Right. And that makes me think of another thing too. So when I have to get myself out of any of the pessimistic kind of things that I think, I don't just go to lying to myself completely. I do a lot of fake it till you make it, but I do it with just telling a little bit better story than what I'm feeling at the moment until I can get to a place where it is real and I do believe it. Because if I try to get myself from, say, I'm the person in the car and I'm like, oh my God, this sucks. I'm the worst person on the planet. I'm such an idiot. Instead of staying there, I go, well, you know what? I did it this time. And that sucks. I'll have to learn not to park so far out into the street, and then I would keep going up into a place to where, because if I was in that place and I was like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot, to, you know what, it's that person's fault, it's just going to throw me off into the bushes. I can't maintain that kind of feeling because it's not
a logical
real
person.
Right.
So
well, most people are.
The way, I mean, this is a whole book that we're trying to summarize really quickly, but I think
we don't have to summarize the whole book.
But I think the way that I would suggest to think about it is just arguing with yourself and going, well, do I have any more reason to believe that it's my fault than that it's some random chance?
Right, because it feels better.
Right, but this isn't just saying everything's great. No, it was my fault. But when you start to have the negative, when you recognize, hey, I'm having a negative like feelings about this,
Right.
to hit the pause button and go, okay, well, do I have any more reason to believe that it's some horrible thing or that it's my fault or it's going to go on forever
Right.
than that I do that it's not going to go on forever and it's not my fault?
Right.
And just ask yourself that question. And when you go, well, I really don't have any more reason to believe one versus the other, then I think that realization alone helps slide you away.
Going into a place. But this is
Exactly.
the thing. And like with all of the podcasts, like these are really companion pieces to whatever book is going on.
Yeah.
And it's really fun because I think what I've learned about myself in all of these books is I can see, obviously it's self-help, and I am like self-help junkie queen. I love it because I'm always trying to figure out how did I get here, or why was I there, and whatever it is. And so things like this this kind of a book with being positive. The interesting thing is when you can't necessarily sustain and go from like a place that is really low to a place that's really high without knocking yourself into the going whatever, but being aware and having the tool, which is, I think I just started getting this over the past couple of years, and it is a daily thing because sometimes I'll find myself 20 minutes into like thoughts of just like thinking really negatively and then go, wait, I'm doing that thing again.
Yep.
But that 20 minutes used to be a day.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's growth. And so it's like having that awareness. And I think a lot of people that listen to this are in that place too, where it sometimes just takes that one moment of shifting out and going, wait, I'm doing that thing again because this really doesn't feel good.
That is probably the biggest step you can make.
Yeah.
And
Does he talk about that in this book?
not as much, I think. I mean, he really explains like how to restructure the way that you think about these things. But there's a component that I think is missing, and it's something that I actually teach a lot when I do my trainings. And by the way, based on what you said, have you ever done the book Feeling Good?
No.
Okay.
Is
Next book, big book though. You're gonna have to do a little research, but amazing book, changed a lot of lives.
Love the idea of that.
The foundation of cognitive behavioral therapy is
Feeling
this
Good.
book. Is this book called Feeling Good? So we'll do that next time.
That's cool.
But there's this thought that I like to share with people, and that is, so I'm an adventure nut, right? I've martial artist. I'm a scuba instructor. I skydive. I go war-torn jungles and stuff. I'm into adventure, and I've got a little bit of a survivalist bent to me. I've got the zombie apocalypse mobile that you saw out front when you came in. I've got all the different, stuff. And so I got into all this stuff over years of doing all these activities where I started looking at who survives and who doesn't in life or death situations. And the people who survive are not who you think they would be. They're not necessarily the most physically fit or the youngest. And most, the muscular guy who dodges whatever. It's actually people who thought what they would do in that particular situation.
Like a strategist in a sense.
No, just
Or
people who
strategize.
already had a plan of what they would do. When they're driving on the bus going through Peru and the bus starts to go off the cliff and they're the one person who dives out the window.
Oh, like they
Or
already thought like they were
already
driving.
had
So
a
they're pessimists.
plan.
So pessimists win.
No.
So the pessimists that are like, we're going to die. We're going to die. We are going to die. I can't believe this. We are going to die.
Bear with me. Let me land the plane on this because I think this is actually a really valuable point, and that is So one of the things we learn from cognitive behavioral therapy is when you're in an emotional situation, and this is, I think, what you find yourself in relationship situations as well. When you're in an emotional situation, that can be angry, frustrated, upset, depressed, anything that's emotional in a negative way, the frontal lobe of your brain shuts off.
The prefrontal cortex.
Yep. For those of you who have your biology
How
charts
about
out.
that I just pulled that out of my butt?
No, you pulled it out of your prefrontal cortex. So
It's another word for it. My butt and my brain. Yep.
they look similar. They both have that little kind of that round thing with the crease down the middle. Anyway, butthead. So what the hell was I saying? Oh, so what they find is you can give people a simple logical test and they pass it with flying colors. You get them in an emotional state, angry, frustrated, depressed, whatever that is, and they can't answer simple logical questions. They're going to the mammalian reptilian
It's
brain,
like
emotional brain.
like go
Yeah. And you see this in conversations with people when they're fighting. They're like, it just doesn't make sense. And they're like, bah, and they're really not making any sense because they can't make sense. That part of the brain's gone.
Oh my God, I just figured out somebody in my life. This is amazing. Keep going. I'm learning so much.
This is a whole different thing, but when you're in an emotional situation is not the time to come up with problem solving, like to do problem solving, because that part of your brain's gone. So that means in a fight, in a relationship, that's not when you try to fix it.
So the worst thing is what I do, which is, okay, this is the
How do we solve
solution.
this?
And then it's like static on the other side.
This is a whole thing. This is a completely other topic, but yeah, communication, relationship stuff, very much. But think about for everything you do in your life that has importance, right? And things that are important are things that tend to take place when shit's going. Oh, can I say that?
Yeah, you can
when
say
shit's going
shit.
sideways. I don't know how PG your thing is. When shit's going sideways, and that is when people are like, "Oh my God, I need a solution for this." Whether it's my fight or my car got crashed or problems at work or whatever it is, that's when people start thinking of, "I need a solution." But they're in the wrong mental state to solve the problem.
Because you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it.
Especially when that mind is enwrapped in it.
Yeah.
You can't solve a problem with a mind that's in the problem.
Right.
And so that's why the thought that I'd like to leave you and your listeners with is you have to come up with a plan. So you have to analyze, you really have to do a little homework and look at your life and go, where do I go off the rails? Where do I have my biggest problems in my life, in my relationships, in my work, wherever it is? Where do I run into? Yeah, whatever it is. But think about but you have to think about it when you're in a normal, healthy state of mind.
I'm never in a normal, healthy state of mind, Dan.
Well, it's a spectrum, right?
Have
So
you
for
met
you,
me?
further from the dark void that swallows your soul, and a little closer to happy land. And so when you're in a better place, that's when you want to go, okay, what is it what are the situations that I come into where there are big problems? Maybe it's you're exactly what you said, like you're trying to solve a problem in a relationship or whatever that problem is. Think about it and go, okay, how would I rather react in that situation? What would be a more constructive way for me to deal with it? Instead of raising my voice or calling them an idiot or throwing stuff or shutting down and closing off and running away or whatever it is.
I just don't shut up. I just don't shut up. I just keep trying to talk, but I don't. Yeah.
So
maybe that's what I don't need to do.
Whatever it is, and it doesn't matter. It could be anything. You sit down and you kind of map it out and you go, okay, this is the behavior that's not working for me. What could I replace that with? Because you can't just not do stuff.
Yeah. And there's
you have to replace it with something.
Right. Well, this is why
AA, they're all drinking coffee.
Oh, right.
You have to replace stuff.
And smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, they replace one addiction with another. But that's really kind of how humans work. You can't just not do something. It's very hard to not do something.
Well, because you have to fill the void.
With something
but
else.
you can fill the void
Which
with
also
your
the title of
self-esteem
my new
and
sex tape.
fill the void. Fill all of them. Yes.
With something else.
Yes.
That's what she said.
What I have noticed, and one of the things I remember a long time ago was I told somebody said this, and they were like, I don't remember where it was, but it was about reacting to something versus responding to something. And that was always a really cool thing for me because what I realized in a lot of situations, I would be reacting. Now that makes reacting sound bad, but the way that I felt wasn't good. So, but when you respond to something, it's in a much gentler way. You're like, I'm going to respond to this as opposed to reacting. And so when I realize I'm reacting to something, I definitely take a breath and try to go into that. Is that what you're talking about?
Well,
kinda?
I'm saying be even one step ahead of that. And by the way, what you're describing, Stephen Covey talks about that in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Maybe that's where it comes from.
It could be. He talks about between stimulus and response, there's a gap.
That must be it.
And so for an animal, you ring the bell, the dog salivates, right? Or my mom starts cooking and the dog stops salivating.
Right.
Whatever that is, the stimulus response, there's no decision. They're not like, well, like Sparky isn't going, I'd like to be a thinner dog, so I think I'm going to try to make myself not eat so much kibble. They just eat the damn kibble, right? They stimulus response. Humans, we have free will. And so we have the ability to insert a pause in between the stimulus and response and go, well, is that really how I want to act? Now, the reality is, and so that's really what makes us able to reprogram ourselves and makes us kind of special. Now, the reality is, quite often we are just as bad as Sparky. We're just stimulus response and we are reacting exactly as you described. What you want to do is act. And it's a very difficult thing to do because we have we have millions of years programmed into us, and we have a lifetime of experiences programmed into us. And so reactions kind of float to the surface automatically. And
Those are called triggers.
Trigger warning, guys, trigger warning. And so what I'm saying is sit down when you're not triggered and in your safe space and figure out what situations do actually trigger you or get you upset or get you in that state and cause you to react in a way. Maybe it's yelling, maybe it's punching walls, maybe it's throwing stuff, maybe it's not stopping talking, maybe it's completely not opening up. Whatever the thing is, whatever the behavior is that you have that's not constructive, and go, okay, when does that come up? How would I like to behave otherwise? And come up with a plan. Because what happens to the deer that gets caught in the headlights?
They get hit by a
car. They get hit, right? They go, oh.
But if the deer was to go, if I saw a car.
If in advance, the deer was like, man, okay, if I see a car and bright lights are coming at me, I'm going to run for the friggin' side of the road. The deer would survive. You don't jump out of a plane and then go, well, I better figure out how this parachute works.
Right.
Right? Because you're filled with adrenaline. You're going to probably go splat. Well, we do that every day in our lives, that parachute trick. In our relationships, we're like, well, I'll figure this out when everything goes sideways and going to hell and we're really pissed off. Then I'll try to figure out how to deal with it.
That's really cool. I like this idea.
Yeah.
I like this idea.
My own idea.
Yeah. Is that what you're
This
teaching?
Is part of what I'm teaching, part of what I'm writing in a book that I've been writing for the last 2 years that I'm never finished. That
Such a pessimist.
Oh, I know. Life happens. But yeah,
No,
this is kind of a concept that I've been developing, and I think it's a valid one.
It's like you have to be, and here's the thing, you have to be so self-aware in order to do this. And I do have people in my life that are so not. Yeah. The last thing in the world that they're going to do is look at themselves and go, I need to work on this.
Yep.
Unfortunately, my problem is that I do it so much, it's probably annoying. Like I can sit with you and your wife and we can sit and talk about some very deep things, you know what I mean? Which we've done before because we're all pretty open. But then I have other friends that they wouldn't join in on that conversation because they don't see anything wrong.
Like football.
Or whatever, you know, like it takes... to be able to like, look, all of us are, I know for me, especially like, I just want to be the best person that I can be and the happiest person that I can be at all times and live this amazing, wonderful life where I feel like literally music is dancing in my head all the time. You know?
Call that crazy, but yes.
Yeah. Well, me too. Yeah, I know. Right. No, but you're having such a good time.
I've always, you know, my one of my mottos is always, you know, I want to be the best me that I can possibly be.
Right.
Whatever that
we all
takes.
do. But then, you know, we also get very hard on ourselves when we find ourselves in situations where we're not really the best us of what we know that we could be. And I mean, gosh, it happens sometimes, even if I raise my voice too much at my dog because he's getting in the trash and I use my mean voice and I go, no, Jack, you know, and I get really mad. Yeah. I actually instantly feel bad, you know, and then I go, wait, no, you know, whatever it is, like whatever these things are, if I'm driving in traffic and somebody cuts me off and I'm like, jerk, you know, whatever it is. And I'm mad.
I'm sure that's the word you said.
Yeah, I was going to, effing jerk.
I turn into Yosemite Sam when I drive, but
I think we all do. But that's an interesting point though, because when it's just like people behind computers, they can just like let go with the most insulting things to people, the crudest, most awful things, because they're behind the safety of their computer. Just like when we're in our cars and nobody really hears us. I mean, sure, if you flip somebody off, they might see you, but they can just do it back and you're never going to see them again. Same on the internet. So there's a safety to be the biggest asshole that you possibly can be when you're there. And it's interesting because the people that I know that are the nicest people I know actually really maintain themselves in these situations because it's a running thing. Yep. So it's very telling. Basically, I'm saying I'm an asshole, and I you know, because I'll lose it sometimes. You know, like I'll just be like, or whatever.
You know what? I saw a therapist like for a brief while, maybe 10 years ago. Just had a lot of stuff going on. And it was funny because I think much like you, I think you and I are similar. she was like, wow, your radar's always going. Like you're always looking like, how do I interpret this? How do I work on myself? How do I da da da? And she's like, you really need to just try to
Chill
let
the F
go
out.
and relax and just don't try so hard to work on it. And I was like, yeah, do you have any exercises you could give me?
Exactly.
and we both paused and looked at each other and just started laughing, because I'm like, even when it comes to trying to relax and not push myself so hard, I was like, how do I do that quicker? How do I accomplish that now?
Right.
But
Yeah,
there was,
that sounds just like me.
yeah, I think you and I are really similar.
Yeah.
But there was this funny moment where I was like, I'm really trying hard to just, like the one place I still, I used to have a temper. I don't anymore. I never want to have kids or anything till I like it completely eradicated it. Even if someone's like yelling at me, whatever, I'm like, whatever, take a deep breath, walk away. And the one place I can't get rid of that is like, I lose it when I drive. And she just looked at me and goes, well, if you ever figure that out, you let me know, because we're going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like, everybody. She's like, no one comes in here and isn't like, driving doesn't bother me. No,
right.
Like everybody. Yeah.
Right. No, driving is a big deal, but it's true. Like when you see this stuff, but it's so, even in those moments, like I've been awful to people that we've been awful to each other driving, or somebody cutting me off, or me cutting somebody off and going, come on, I missed my turn. And they're like, F you. And whatever it is, I'm like, you back. And we get in this thing, the heart's racing, the adrenaline's going, and oh my God, it feels so shitty and I hate it. Yeah. And I am very close with somebody who has the worst road rage maybe ever. Nobody can get in front. He has to go. It's crazy. And you can't even talk to this person when they're driving. He's like, and if we're on long trips or something, it's like always looking ahead to see where he needs to go. And it's so I can feel the tension.
You can't relax.
And I can feel the tension. Well, I've learned, I can actually, because I go, it's not my thing. I'll just turn up the music and dance and like take selfies or something. I don't know. Like, I'm
You're such
good.
a chick.
but with I know, right? I'm like, let's do a boomerang.
What guy's like, when I'm really upset, I crank the music and sing and take selfies.
I put on a happy song. Let me see. Let me see if there's any. Of course, he says pessimism can likely cause depression. Of course, we talked about that.
Well, but, and it's interesting. I was talking about the example of Disney, but sports or sales, or you have to think like sports is a great example. My dad was an Olympic figure skater, and I grew up around someone where you fall, you get back up, and you just keep going. No matter what, you keep going. Nothing will stop you. You keep going. You focus on what you want, not on what you don't want.
Right.
And I've taken stunt driving and racing courses. And again, they're like, you focus on where you want to go, not the obstacles. You focus on the obstacles, guess what happens? You drive right into the damn obstacles.
Right.
You're always looking where you want to go. And this pattern repeats over and over and over. What you make the focus of your consciousness is what you'll tend to manifest. So if you're focused on, hey, everything's going to be really good, and how do I manifest this reality? That will be, your mind will be open to that all the time. If instead you're constantly in fear and how do I avoid problems, and you're looking for the problems and trying to avoid them, then you're closing off options all the time. Right. And you're if you expect bad, you're gonna tend to manifest.
Of course.
So that's where I think, there's a lot of validity to this. Absolutely. It's a way more narcissistic and probably less realistic view to be like, to be expecting good and minimize negative things and externalize negative things and internalize positive things. It's definitely comes across as a more like, oh, is that kind of a narcissistic thing? Like you're like, I'm so good, I pick numbers really well. Yeah, it is to a certain degree. You probably don't want to go broadcasting that to the world, but it's a really good way to program your mind. That
one doesn't bother me though. Like the picking the numbers, like I'm really great at picking numbers. That's awesome. Right. The one that I was like, that seems narcissistic was the one where it's like the car gets hit and it's like, that's that person's fault.
Well, if you're an idiot, legitimately, if you parked your car sticking way out into the road, you're an idiot. And so
see, I was thinking that probably makes me a pessimist, because I was like, well, the way I park, I'm like 4 feet away from the curb.
I'm here assuming you're parking like a normal person and not like Krista.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you park like a jackass, you get what's coming to you. But no, again, it comes back to when things they could go either way. You don't really have a reason to to interpret one way or the other,
Yeah.
why not interpret it positively? And
Right.
that's kind of what it drives down to.
That makes sense. Yeah, that like kind of brought it all the way back around because I was like out of the curb. You know what I mean? My car was like the bumper was out a
like
little.
You're 3 feet.
Yeah, no, maybe
Yeah,
not that
yeah.
much. I mean, I'm
Hazards
not
on.
that much of an
I'm
idiot.
just going to run in for a minute or 3 or 12 or 15.
I'll be back in 2 hours.
Well, it's only 4 a.m. People are sober.
Are they?
No.
It says, let's see. It says what? Well, I don't know. I was just looking at this little. I was just looking at some of these things. It says something about start thinking of negative events as temporary, which I like.
Yep.
Specific and external, record your ABCs and know that your attitude is learned. You can change it at any time. That's a huge thing because we do learn that stuff from our family
and
and
this
the
is
world.
One of the things, and a really important thing, is that optimism is learned in the most negative way possible, unfortunately, because we learn it from our parents. And actually, they've done studies that show that when a mother is really pessimistic, that their child tends to be more pessimistic.
Right.
And it tends to impact their success and happiness.
It does.
So the great news is you don't have to be that way.
And
you can learn to
'cause
reprogram yourself.
obviously, because at some point it's not your parents' fault anymore. At some point you have to go, you know what? I'm an adult and I can retrain myself because I want to. And that's the kicker. It's like if people feel, if you're like, you're in a place and you're like, I've said this before. There was a time in my life, maybe 10 years ago or so, I would wake up every day and I would have the worst days because I would wake up from the start angry. And I couldn't figure it out for the life. I was miserable. Like I was like, what is wrong with me? I would, and I was really faking it. So I came across insincere.
In LA.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, it's just because I'm an actress. I was like,
Why am I so angry all the
what
time?
is going on? Hashtag me too. No. But I was like, I couldn't figure out what it was. And then that's when I finally, were you going to make a joke? You're about to, I could see the smirk on your face. What was it?
I think I've been using that wrong because the other day I was at a bar and a friend ordered a whiskey Coke and I was like, hashtag me too. And the bartender was like, that's not how you use that. I'm like, why not?
That's amazing. That's
True
really
story.
good. That's really good. Yeah. And everybody's quiet.
Like
looking
everyone's
at you.
so angry. I'm reclaiming hashtag me too.
I love that.
I'm going for this.
Yeah. Hey, can I have some of your nachos? Hashtag me too.
Yeah.
Let's put an optimistic
Yeah,
spin.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just like to think that plant in the kitchen was like wanted it. It was that plant was asking for it.
That you think that it just needed some watering.
Yeah, some nutrients.
It just needed a little protein.
Jeez.
Whatever.
But plants like hashtag me too.
Oh my God.
Poor ficus.
Yeah. So it's saying
Sorry, I totally
ficus.
derailed you. Yeah.
No, you didn't. Poor ficus. Was it a ficus?
I don't know. What kind of plant do you have in a kitchen? I know. Poor lemongrass. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope they weren't using herbs.
Let's go with a ficus.
Let's do the ficus. Yeah.
Anyway, it basically this. So it's basically just, I guess the takeaway, like with all of this, first, it sounds like a great book to dive into
Really
and
good
to
book. Yeah.
really just look and stuff. I know I love learning about this stuff, but what I love the most about it is the beginning of the story that you told when I didn't like this guy very much. And then all of a sudden it went to this place where I was like, oh, okay, I like this guy. Being optimistic is such a huge thing for me, just because I know how shitty it feels inside when I'm on the other side. And I think
Absolutely.
anybody can relate to that.
Yeah.
But it's having that awareness. One, it's having the awareness, but the most important part is acting on the awareness, because there's two steps. It's one, I'm aware. There's another part to act on it. And that's when things shifted for me, because I used to get frustrated when people would tell me things that I already knew. And I'd be like, I know.
But,
and then I thought, but I'm not doing any of it. And then that's when the next step came. And that's when things really started to change in my life. And, and I'm still obviously working on it, like on so many things. I'll never be done probably, but hopefully, learning more and more and figuring more stuff out. But it's so exciting and fun for me.
right on.
Yeah, it's really cool. How much time have we been doing here? What do you think? Oh my
I
God.
don't know where we're at.
We're almost at an hour.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
I have staying power.
I mean, who knew? So tell me something. Where can people find you on social media if they want to reach out and maybe book you for stuff or just even like for stand up and things like that?
Well, for the corporate stuff, the website is Team Tune Up, like tuning up your car, TEAMTUNEUP.com. On social media, it's Facebook /The Den. And I mean, that's probably the easiest way to find me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And your name is Den, and
Den
we're
Bradshaw.
in your living room.
We are. The den is a different room.
Right.
Yeah.
There was
Nothing to say to
an
that.
awkward pause with that one. It was, oh, well, whatever.
People trying to make the den jokes.
Okay, so guys, whoever I know. I'm trying. I want everybody, like, this is 2018. We're gonna rock it. So let's be super positive about it. And I think it's gonna be a really good year.
I think this is going to be a fantastic
And I'm not
year.
just saying that. Like, I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, me too.
So, all right, everybody. I hope you had a happy new year, and I hope it's starting out good. And we'll see you later. Ooh, that sounded like I just
You
popped
spit
a
all over it.
loogie.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
She's fine. She's fine.
It's Dragon Wagon.